Boom! Welcome into Sports Bet. Betting and Insight today, Pauly and Teddy, Tuesday, March 20th. Big game breakdown, game one of a doubleheader on TNT. Thunder, red hot, 6 in a row against the Celtics. And we'll get to the South region today. What a matchup here. Nevada against Loyola Chicago, and Kentucky going to have all the fans against Kansas State. And we'll turn the shot clock on as well. The best team that's left. It'll be a fun discussion coming up. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. This was a lot of fun. Maybe the game of the year in the association. They were betting it under, not even close. Nuggets Heat under 215.5 to 212. 149 to 141 in double overtime. Johnson had 30. Olynyk had 30. The Heat set a record for most points in franchise history, Teddy. And the system crashed in the first overtime. No box score.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing. No official numbers for the game because the system couldn't handle the double OT or the Heat, or it just broke down. Whatever happened, the bottom line is this game got steamed under. I mean, heavy under money. 215.5 down to 212. It was at 236 by the end of regulation. That, folks, was a bad bet. Wrong side loser for all of that under steam between the Heat and the Nuggets.
Yeah, Bulls Knicks 212 up to 217.5 in some spots. Fell 202, not even close, and the Knicks get a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost the same story with Miami and Denver. Just a wrong side right from the start. Bettors had no chance betting Denver, Miami under. Bettors had no chance with the Bulls Knicks over. 217.5 and landed 202. Didn't matter. It was 19 to 18 after the first quarter. The rest of the game for totals bettors, you're rooting for OT, I guess, because it wasn't coming. Bulls Knicks over, a bad bet last night.
All right, look at the Nets taking money. How about this? 4.5 up to 8. No Evans, no Gasol, who had the flu. They trailed for most of the game. They only won by 3. No soup for you.
Yeah, and then, Memphis has been pretty inept without Marc Gasol in the lineup. The games where Gasol's been playing, they show up at least with effort. Without him, the effort's been hit or miss at best. That being said, Nets had no business laying 8 points to anybody. The markets tried to get the Nets in that range last night. All that wrong side money. As you mentioned, Memphis led most of the way. Nets lucky to escape with the 3-point victory.
All right, bet for the books. A couple of totals here. Cavs don't play any defense. They're at the bottom in defense. 225.5 up to 226 against the Bucks. That was a shootout in that one, and the Cavs finally covered, although they're the worst team in the league. ATS and the Hornets and Sixers under 223, down to 220. Not even close, landed 202. It's a tough beat if you had Charlotte. This game was tied with 6 minutes left. They were catching 9. They lost by 14.
That's what the Hornets have been doing lately, unfortunately, for Charlotte backers. Certainly not a nice beat if you had the Hornets, but they haven't played good basketball. They got slapped around the other night. And both of these totals, bettors got dead right. The Bucks Cavs, that got bet from 222.5 up to 226, even higher in some spots. Milwaukee, 37 of 57 from 2-point range last night. Oh, they didn't win, they didn't cover, which shows you about Cleveland's offense efficiency in that one. Bettors got that one right. And, of course, with that heavy steam coming in on Philadelphia and Charlotte under, Philly's going into grind mode now. They're learning how to grind out victories with a lead as the playoffs approach. Grinded one out last night, got the win and cover late. Game stayed under. That, not a good result for the house.
Cleveland 23-46-1 ATS. Brand name bias like Tiger Woods. Doesn't matter the line or the price. They're going to bet him anyways. And also kudos to SBR. They had that great information. It's lost a couple times the last few weeks. They won last night. It won last night. With Embiid in the lineup, the 76ers were 73% covering first quarters. Unbelievable run. They got the money again last night as Covington, Simmons, and Embiid. So good together on the floor that they continue to cash first quarters as well. Spurs play of the day winner. Spurs an under bet for the books. Spurs 6.5 up to 8. The total steamed down 206 all the way down to 201. Well, 12 points in the third quarter, but then Golden State only scored 12 points in the fourth. The under closes under by 37, and the Spurs get the win in a low-scoring game by 14. Green, as they didn't have enough problems with no Curry, Thompson, and Durant. Green left with an injury.
Oh, yeah, and that's it. I mean, it was garbage time very, very early for Golden State. Well, I mean, Kerr, look at the box score. If you watch the game, you look at the lineups. The uniform says Golden State Warriors. This is not the Golden State Warriors right now, and it's not going to be for the next couple of days, maybe the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, books are going to have to adjust. They didn't adjust enough last night. Spurs took the money, under took the money, both easy right side winners.
And two more. Pistons, 2.5 up to 4. They won at Sac. Pistons won a game. The Pistons won a road game. How about that? There's a parade tomorrow. And Utah in the NIT, 3.5 up to 5. The first score I saw when I put it on was 27-9.
Yeah, I mean, that game was literally over in the first quarter. LSU didn't put up much of a fight. They never really put up much of it. They didn't have a run. Didn't have a run in them. They were banged up going into that ball game. Heavy wise guy money came in on the Utes before tip-off, 3.5 bet up to 5. Even a couple of spots were higher than that. Well, Utah won the game by 24, and frankly, it wasn't that close. That, not a good result for the house.
And look at this. The circus is back in town. It's Thunderlips. It's Rocky here. Hulk Hogan. The Westgate in Las Vegas put up a price now that he's applied for an MMA license. Mayweather against McGregor in MMA. Connor's minus 1 to 10. And I had several bookmakers tell me if they ever fought MMA, the price would be a lot higher than the boxing fight. Well, we saw nothing but Connor money when they boxed. What a circus. This is unbelievable. Mayweather plus 650 on the takeback. Never fought MMA before.
Yeah, and like every wise guy literally every wise guy I knew in Las Vegas had money on Mayweather in their pocket when he met McGregor last August. Given the reverse situation in an MMA match, I can guarantee you everyone's going to be laying with Connor, betting against Floyd as a 40-something-year-old trying to learn a new sport. But fun to see the odds change when it comes to the difference in the fight style between boxing and MMA. But of course, all this is theoretical right now. We have no date. We have no time. Just something fun to talk about in an era where we're talking nothing but hoops, although MLB previews will start right here on SportsBit beginning next week.
No. Oh, no. It's that time of year again. Oh, no.
It sure is,
Jesus. Baby. Oh, no. Up next, big game breakdown. We'll get to the Thunder and the Celtics, plus Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers against Nevada, K-State, and Kentucky. SportsBit 2.0, Pauly and Teddy, at Real SportsBit on Twitter. Teddy's at Teddy_covers. Big game breakdown coming up, SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit 2.0, betting insight today. Pauly and Teddy, big game breakdown rolls on. Game 1 of a doubleheader on TNT. Quickly, how about the second game of the doubleheader? Unbelievable. Houston against Portland. Houston's 5. They're 22-1 in their last 23, and Portland's won 13 in a row and 18-1 at home in their last 19. What a matchup here as Houston essentially has the 1 seed locked up. But Boston, no Kyrie, no Smart, no Brown. OKC is 4 on the road, 208.5 the total. They're hot now, 6 in a row straight up and 5-1 ATS with a huge win Sunday in Toronto, Teddy.
Yeah, and that was a huge win. You used the right terminology there. The Raptors have been tremendous all season long. The fact that OKC went in there and beat them pretty good, we start to say, all right, maybe this team is flipping the switch right now. Boy, as you mentioned, 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 ball games. A team that played mediocre basketball for extended stretches this season. Russell Westbrook, 37, 14 and 13 against the Raptors. Steven Adams, the most underrated player in the NBA, or as underrated as anybody out there. 25 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists in that contest. And that duo is bringing enormous energy. The quote from Russell Westbrook, quote, "I am a man on a mission. We've got to take care of business. This time of year, you've got to turn it up a notch." But when it comes to playing against Boston, normally Westbrook's going to be facing a defensive challenge, but I don't know that's going to be the case this evening. Celtics have injury issues up the wazoo, Pauly, as you mentioned. Irving out, Smart out, Brown out. Oh, that's arguably their 2 best defenders and their best offensive player. Not to mention, of course, Gordon Hayward, who's been out all season long.
Number 1 in defensive efficiency, but with a different defense without Brown and Smart. If you look at this graphic, great numbers. Boston defense, full season, points per 100. In with Brown, out with Brown, and you see the in with Smart and the out with Smart. Smart is number 5 on real plus-minus point guard defense of players that go at least 24 minutes per game. Brown's number 5 defense for shooting guards, and something else to consider. They're pretty much locked up into the 2 seed. They're not catching Toronto, and Cleveland can't catch them either. So no reason to rush these guys back and let Kyrie take his time as well. They just lost, were blown out in New Orleans against the Pelicans. Stevens after the game, quote, "I thought we were hanging on by a thread at halftime. For whatever reason, I thought we looked a step slow, but we're going to have moments where we struggle to score with this group right now. We just have to play a more concerted game, a more intentional game than we did." Another problem is the offense. Remember, he had that quote, he wanted to push the tempo to get it going. The offense has had some issues as well. 1-3 straight up in their last 4. The only wins are Orlando.
You're right, Paulie. The offensive numbers have taken a major hit since Kyrie Irving got hurt. And this graphic shows real clearly how or why that has happened. Boston's full season numbers, points per 100 possessions, Kyrie Irving in, they're 8 points better than they are with him on the bench. That's a significant difference. No surprise the Celtics have struggled offensively in recent ball games. No surprise that they're 1-3 straight up in their last 4 games, the only win coming against bottom feeder Orlando. And even that was a battle. And no surprise that Boston tonight is a home underdog to OKC. Right now, the Thunder are the better of these two teams.
Next up, game number 2, we go to the South region. Sweet 16, Big Blue Nation, going to be all over the scene in Atlanta and take up all those tickets. Kentucky on a roll. They're 5.5 and 138.5 against Kansas State. Kentucky is 26-10. K-State is 24-11. This is the late game on CBS, 6:37 Pacific with the tip time. And I know Calipari was bitching on the selection show. "Oh, at the Boise. Put us in Alaska. Look at the draw. It's so tough." 538.com called it the easiest path to the Final Four for any team by far. And they're playing their best ball at the right time of the season. Alexander was terrific in the SEC tournament. They didn't play their best, but be a good Davidson team, and then ran out Buffalo. Kentucky's peaking. Calipari's got them playing well, Teddy.
Yeah, sure. I mean, talk about things breaking right for Kentucky. Let's see. The top 4 seeds in the region all get knocked out before the Sweet 16. That's never happened in the history of the NCAA tournament before. It happened for Kentucky. Hey, bank error in your favor for the Wildcats. And then you talk about the venue. Huge crowd support. This is a home game for Kentucky, and the markets aren't pricing it that way or close to a home game. They will enjoy enormous crowd support. And, of course, we're talking, as you mentioned, about a team that is clearly peaking at the right time. It took a long time for this team to develop. I mean, one thing Calipari's always had, he's had these great point guards, but he's got 5 former Kentucky point guards currently on NBA rosters. And then he's had the big men. He's had Anthony Davis to work with and DeMarcus Cousins and Karl Anthony Towns. You know, the 3 best big men in the NBA today all came through Kentucky. This year's team didn't have that. They certainly didn't have that from the get-go. But Gilgeous-Alexander has been a monster at the point in recent ball games. He's turning into the prototypical Kentucky point guard, and he's doing it, Paulie, despite the fact that the season-long stats don't show it. You just look at the postseason numbers. Here's 2 graphics let's throw up for you real quick. Gilgeous-Alexander in the SEC tournament. Look at that. 20 assists, 5 turnovers, 63 points in 3 games. And look at him in the big dance. Again, the assist-to-turnover ratio, tremendous. The scoring, tremendous. The ability to contribute with rebounding, tremendous. The ability to distribute, tremendous. Look at the numbers. In 5 postseason games, Gilgeous-Alexander, 21.8 points per game, a 3.3 to 1 assist-to-turnover ratio, and more steals than turnovers. Those are all very, very positive signs for Kentucky moving forward.
Now we have Kansas State, which they struggle mightily on offense. They're great defensively, but it was a horror show as they won 2 low-scoring games to get here. Beat Creighton and beat Maryland, Baltimore County, and they also did it without Wade, who's 16 points per game and 6 rebounds per game. The numbers against the Retrievers were hideous. 0.76 points per 100 possessions, 1 of 12 on 3, and 18 turnovers against 18 field goals made. But they were gritty and holding. I mean, still, they did a great job defensively, but they couldn't do anything. That was a 1-point game late, and the Retrievers couldn't make a shot.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, I think it's a positive for a team to survive and advance despite not playing their best game. In general, in the NCAA tournament, I'm looking to bet on teams that won but didn't cover in their previous contest, teams like Kansas State. But on the other hand, you know, you looked at the offensive numbers against Maryland, Baltimore County. This is not atypical. When you have equal number of turnovers versus made field goals, that's not a good, that's not a good stat, and it's certainly not a good stat against the number 16 seed. But the fact that they were able to survive these two games without Dean Wade, who's an all Big 12 player, 16.5 points, 6.3 rebounds, both team leading numbers. Also, 89 assists versus only 47 turnovers. That's rare for a guy his size. He has 50 steals. He has 27 blocked shots. And guess what? Dean Wade might be back for this ballgame. The quote, "I'm excited. It gives me another couple days to heal. I'm like 98% sure I'll play. I don't know if they can keep me out of this one. This is big time." Dean Wade, an impact player for Kansas State. I don't know if he's going to be impactful enough to get them past Kentucky, but he might be impactful from a point spread perspective.
All right, and the early game in the South in Atlanta. What a matchup. Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers against the Wolfpack of Nevada. 30 wins for Loyola, 29 for Nevada, and the Ramblers have won I think it's 20 of 21. The best part about this story is, other than Sister Jean, they returned everybody last year. As the big kid down low is a freshman, you have Custer and Ingram, and they're a joy to watch. Beautiful offense, pump fake, kick, pass, penetrate, dish, shoot the three. Also, I think only the fourth team to get to the Sweet 16, winning the first two games with a game-winning shot in the final 10 seconds of both games. But they're fun to watch. They have great numbers on offense and defense. They don't foul, and they shoot the three well.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about what does it take for a mid-major to make it this far. Well, you got to have some good players. But more than anything, you got to have solid fundamentals. And Loyola Chicago is the picture of solid fundamentals. You look at the graphics, all right? Offensively, look at that. Number 7 in effective field goal percentage. Number 14 from beyond the arc. Number 13 from inside the arc. Assist per field goal, number 24. All of those elite level offensive stats that show execution, fundamentals. Defensively, similar impressive statistics. Number 27 overall, number 35 effective field goal percentage. They don't foul. Number 16 in free throw attempts per field goal attempt. Those are really solid fundamental numbers. And given their first two matchups, the fundamentals were huge. Who'd they play? They played Miami and Tennessee. Well, look at the graphic. Miami and Tennessee, a combined one senior starter. Loyola, of course, has 2. And, of course, we're talking about Miami and Tennessee, a pair of teams that started a combined 5 sophomores and 2 freshmen. They were young. They made mistakes. Loyola didn't. And that was a difference maker. Of course, you look at the assist to turnover ratio in the 2 ball games, which shows Loyola very clearly avoiding mistakes, having great execution, in sharp contrast to their opponents and their youth, who made a ton of mistakes. The assist to turnover ratio much better for the Ramblers than they were for their 2 opponents.
Yeah, awesome. And one correction: Ingram is a senior, so they would lose him, but get almost everyone back next season. Now here's Nevada, unbelievable. They've led for a combined 4 minutes in the first 2 games, and they're in the Sweet 16. Down 14 against Texas. They win in overtime. Down 22 with just under 11 minutes left, and they beat Cincinnati. They were 22-1 in play against Cincinnati, and they were a big plus 650 to come back against Texas. What if they actually get off to a good start? They only play 6 players. They don't have depth, but hey, didn't matter. That's why they weren't supposed to come back against Cincinnati, but they're loaded. And they have Caroline down low, and the Martin brothers have been terrific. Musselman, former NBA coach, doing a great job, taking the shirt off, going crazy, the F-bombs. Quote, "We told them, guys, we're down 22 on the biggest stage we'll ever play on. You can't hide. We've got to compete. We've got to battle." And then they started talking in the huddles. They scored 32 points down the stretch against a great Cincinnati defense, and they got a lot of stops, too. They've been terrific in the second half, but get off to a good start for once.
Yeah, well, and when you talk about a lack of depth, this really might be one of those unique situations where the lack of depth has worked in Nevada's favor. They have better chemistry because the guys are on the court all the time together. How much does this chemistry help ball handling? Look at the numbers from the Wolfpack's 2 tournament games. The field goal attempts, the free throw attempts, the turnovers. That's a tremendous ratio of shot opportunities versus turnovers. They just don't make a lot of mistakes in terms of offensive execution. Of course, you talk about Musselman, former NBA head coach. You talk about the Martin twins, 2 guys with NBA. Well, I believe they'll play in the NBA, both of them. But the NBA coach and NBA talent on Nevada,
Yep.
And of course, when you talk about the issues with conditioning, look what's happened in the second half of these two ball games. Nevada, on second half and overtime. Nevada 104, Cincinnati and Texas 77. They've outscored them by 27 points in the second half. How's that happening? Conditioning. I read 3 different articles talking about Musselman saying this team's in the best shape that they've ever been in their life. And of course, they play in Reno, altitude over 4,500. The Mountain West road games, look at the venue. Wyoming, Colorado Springs, Albuquerque, Colorado State in Fort Collins, up in Logan, all high altitude venues. That's helped them conditioning wise. It might help them in the second half of this one if Sister Jean's magic starts to run thin in the second half. I think Nevada has a chance to dominate the game.
Yes, very good. Get back to this coming up. Up next, we turn on the shot clock. Who's the team to beat moving forward? Let's get another one with the play of the day coming up on SportsBit 2.0. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy. I'm at Real SportsBit on Twitter. Teddy's at Teddy_covers. Play of the day in a second. And, of course, the rest of the week we'll go through more of the college games and the other regions. Time to turn the shot clock on. Who's the team to beat now in the Sweet 16 and moving forward? I'm going with Villanova. 6 guys in double figures, destroyed a hot Alabama team. DiVincenzo got them going early, and then Bridges couldn't miss from 3 in the second half. So many weapons. They have the experience. And remember, they just had that slow stretch where they had guys that were hurt, and Booth was hurt, and they had some other injuries. But I think they're now Duke's got an easier draw. Duke faces Syracuse, and then I wouldn't be surprised if they play Clemson again. But Villanova, I think, gets by, and the team to beat, fingers crossed, give us Villanova Duke for the right to go to the title game.
So I agree with you that Villanova will play Duke for the right to go to the title game. That being said, with the shot clock on and 30 seconds to make my point, I'm going to be very, very concise. Duke's defense right now, better than Villanova's, and that's a difference maker. Since Okafor got hurt, since they went to the 2-3 zone, Duke has improved by leaps and bounds. I know Nova's got the jump shooters that are supposed to be able to beat that. Well, I've seen a bunch of other teams with jump shooters not beat it yet. Duke Nova, we know we're going to get there, or it looks like we're going to get there. I think Duke's going to come away with the W in that one, my friend. I'll take Duke as the team to beat.
All right, we're here. We're back. Week 2. Reunited, and it feels so good. Pauly and Teddy. Money time, play of the day. Back to the South region, betting number 816. They got us early, but we're going back against them again, against the Ramblers. The Wolfpack, Nevada, -1.5. We think they get by and beat Loyola Chicago. Nevada, not a surprise Nevada's here, considering where they were. They were battle-tested. They went to Lubbock, had Texas Tech down 10 on the road, lost by 4 on a neutral to TCU. I believe they beat Rhode Island. So they were ranked too. But to Loyola Chicago, now they go back home and everyone's pumping their tires and they're on ESPN and CBS and it's going crazy. Now they respond. Sister Jean, all the other stuff. How do they handle that now? But we'll take Nevada laying 1.5. Be a great story. The winner obviously in the Elite Eight and hopefully a chance to knock out the big boy with Kentucky. That's it. We're back tomorrow. Our loaded NBA card and more hoops coming at you on SportsBit 2.0 Betting Insight today. Thanks for watching.